Welcome, everyone, to the Public Works and Safety Standing Committee. Before I call the meeting to order, I want to announce that some committee members, staff, and the public are attending remotely via Zoom as well as on site. All participants joining by phone should mute their phones when not speaking to avoid background noise. During the meeting, please make sure you announce yourself by name and title every time you speak so the public that is observing knows who is speaking. When speaking, be sure and speak directly into a microphone so that all comments are heard and the recording of the meeting is accurate. This is critical given the number of remote participants and is current guidance from the Kansas Attorney General. The public is allowed to participate by Zoom or submit comments by email prior to the meeting, and those comments will be included in the record of this meeting. The public may also indicate their intent to provide remote public comment by contacting the clerk's office by 5 p.m. the Thursday before the meeting. The public also will have an opportunity to provide brief comments either by telephone or via Zoom from the fifth floor conference room of the municipal office building. I will now call this meeting of the Public Works and Safety Standing Committee to order. Would the clerk please call roll?
Roll call. Croneman.
Here.
Kane.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Ramirez.
Here.
Bynum. We have an absence memo. Markley.
Here. There are no revisions to the agenda this evening, and there are no minutes to approve. So we'll move on to committee agenda item 1, which is a grant for fiscal year 24, the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, jointly by the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department and the Wyandotte County Sheriff's Office. I will recognize Laura Cromwell to present. Welcome, guys.
Hi, good evening. Yes, my name is Laura Cromwell. I'm the fiscal manager for the police department, and we, along with the sheriff's office, are requesting approval to apply for the fiscal year 2024 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, overseen by the Kansas Governor's Grants Program and the Kansas Criminal Justice Coordinating Council at the state level. The state has been allocated $2.2 million for fiscal year 24, and they are seeking pass-through entities to award portions of this funding, making this a competitive grant process. Funds will be provided to units of local government or organizations supporting a unit of local government to address crime and improve public safety. The project period for this award will extend from October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2024. If awarded, these projects would be funded at 100% as there is no match requirement from the UG. Only one application can be submitted per unit of local government, so the police department and the sheriff's office will be submitting a joint application as we've done in previous years. The police department will be requesting funding to support fentanyl education programs and enforcement efforts. Specific budget items include educational pamphlets, Facebook video ads, Narcan, and covert cameras. The total cost for the PD portion will be $17,644. And now I'll turn it over to the administrative manager for the sheriff's office to discuss their objectives for this grant project.
Good evening. I'm Angelina Maxville, the administrative manager for Sheriff's Office. The Sheriff's Office will be requesting funding.
Just a little closer.
The Sheriff's Office will be requesting funding to purchase new and replacement cameras and server equipment for the courthouse and the court services building. The funding will allow us to update and replace outdated and inoperable cameras and the server system, which will improve the safety and security of employees, the public, and inmates within the courthouse complex. The total cost for the sheriff's office portion will be $152,806.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the committee? I have a motion and a second. Clerk, are there any public comments received, or is anyone online interested in making comment?
No comments received, no hands raised.
Anyone here in the room here to make comment on this item? All right, roll call on the motion.
Roll call. Croneman.
Aye.
Kane.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks so much. Item number 2 is our updates to sewers and sewage disposal. They're looking for approval on this item, which is an update to sewers and sewage disposal ordinances to address fats, oils, and grease the fog program. Jeff Miles is here to present.
Good evening, everyone. I want to introduce Jeff Miles, Director of Water Pollution Control. I want to introduce Tiffany Butler. She's our fog coordinator, our newly developed position, and Scott Craig, our environmental compliance supervisor as well. Tonight, we're coming ahead forward of you. We're going to show you just a small presentation to give you kind of a status of where the fog program is. Part of that is updating the ordinance for ultimately a fee that goes along with those as mirrored by other communities. We did zero that out, so that's just a small ordinance change at the end with the opportunity next year to come back in front of you guys, and we'll establish a fee at that point. But for 2024, we're looking for a 0% fee continue. The reasoning behind that is why we zeroed that out is our call point modernization project that you guys are all aware of is not to the step where we want it to be to where we can receive grease. That's a big part of this update to our plan. This time next year, we should be equipped to that. So long and short of it, a restaurant in Kansas City, Kansas, that's disposing of their grease properly, having a contractor come take that grease and dispose of it. They have nowhere in Wyandotte County right now to take it. They have to take it outside the city to do that, which costs them more money for transportation fees. So we didn't feel it was appropriate at this time. So this is just another step of our ongoing consent decrees for some of the obligations that we made with that. So with that said, I'm going to hand it off to Tiffany.
Hi, good evening. My name is Tiffany Butler, and I'm the fog coordinator here for the UG at the wastewater treatment plant. And so today, I'm here before you to advocate for the adoption of the fats, oils, and grease program and for the ordinance fee for 2025. This future fee, while sometimes met with hesitation, is a crucial step towards safeguarding our environment, maintaining the integrity of our sewer systems, and ensuring the health and well-being of our community. First and foremost, let's address what is the fog program and why we find ourselves considering this fee. Fats, oils, and greases, when improperly disposed of, have a detrimental impact to our municipal sewer systems. They clog pipes, cause blockages, and contribute to costly and avoidable maintenance. This not only strains our budget, but also results in inconvenience and potential health hazards for our residents. And while we say we value environmental responsibility and that we are committed to protecting our local waterways and ecosystems, these businesses that generate fog should bear some responsibility for its proper disposal and treatment. By adopting a fog ordinance fee, we're not just taking a proactive approach to managing this issue, but we are also sending a clear message to the food establishments and businesses in our community. Furthermore, this fee can be structured in a way that encourages compliance. We can offer incentives and discounts to businesses that actively demonstrate their commitment to fog management. We can also allocate the revenue generated from this fee to fund education and outreach programs and inspections, enforcement efforts, all of which will benefit our community in the long run. Now, I understand the concerns that some may have about imposing a future fee. No one welcomes additional costs, especially in challenging economic times. However, it's essential to recognize that this fee is not arbitrary. It's a tool for accountability. By implementing a fee structure, we encourage businesses to adopt best practices such as installing and maintaining fog control equipment, training their employees using the resources we have created for them, and adhering to reporting requirements. This slide shows some comparisons of other Kansas municipalities that have adopted a fog program. Wichita has a $180 annual permit fee along with the $40 fee for users that have a grease removal device. For most of the cities in Johnson County, there is a $290 annual permit fee plus a fee to operate a grease removal device equaling $580 a year. Bonner Springs has chosen not to have a permit fee, however, has late fees for not turning in paperwork, and if not received after 90 days, they have the option to turn the water off at the establishment. Gardner has a straight $300 annual permit fee. Manhattan has an annual permit fee of $25 and late fees of $100 each month for paperwork that's not turned in. Wyandotte County was mandated by the EPA in 2013 with a partial consent decree to implement this program. Since then, the bare minimum has been done due to the lack of a fog coordinator until this year. With the implementation of this fee in 2025, this program will pay for itself. Furthermore, this fee can be structured in a way that encourages compliance. We can offer incentives and discounts to the businesses that actively demonstrate their commitment to fog management. And we can also allocate the revenue generated from this fee to fund education and outreach programs. So in conclusion, adopting a fog ordinance fee is a necessary and responsible step towards protecting our environment and maintaining the functionality of our sewer systems. It's an investment in the health and well-being of our community. By doing so, we demonstrate our commitment to sustainability and responsible governance. I urge the members of this committee to consider the long-term benefits, weigh them against any short-term concerns, and ultimately stand with us in supporting the adoption of this fog ordinance fee. Together, we can ensure a cleaner, safer, and more sustainable future for our community. Thank you for your consideration.
So I'll wrap it up there. Great job, Tiffany, by the way. She's very passionate about her job. She's good at it. So the ordinance change is just opening that door that we can come back to that this time next year. We'll benchmark this time next year with other organizations and come back in front of you for an actual fee. But for now, it's just ordinance change, opening that door. And again, it lets us follow the commitments of the consent decree.
Okay, so I want to recap a couple of things. EPA required us to start this program. Ordinance changes to start the program. No fee change this year. No fee change in 2024, but you'll be talking to us in 2024, 2025, there will be a fee.
That's
right?
correct.
Committee questions? Commissioner Ramirez?
Thank you, Commissioner Markley. To clarify for the community, because we're saying the word fee, this is a fee that establishments will be paying, not the community, not citizens. It's restaurants, the list of establishments that you had on the slide.
Great point. Yes, Commissioner. That is correct, Commissioner. Yes.
Just want to, again, make sure that was spoken about, because I don't want them listening to this meeting and hear the word fee and thinking that's another fee that citizens are going to have to pay.
Yes.
That's the establishments themselves.
Thank you. Yes. Good clarification.
Commissioner Davis?
Thank you. It's good to see you all. Can you all speak just a little bit more in detail? Wow, this mic is very loud. Speaking just a little bit more detail about the environmental impact of the program. I think just from an educational standpoint, very, very important for folks to realize we are trying to solve or prevent a very, very serious problem within our sewage system that if we don't get ahead of it can become very problematic for everybody in our community. Can you all speak to the environmental impact?
Absolutely. Scott, you want to take that one or? Okay, share the mic there.
My name's Scott Craig. I'm the Environmental Compliance Manager. The big issue with grease that comes from restaurants, et cetera, is once it gets in the sewer, it can cause a backup, which the backups can be, I guess in the worst case scenario, it could end up in someone's basement. So by requiring the grease traps, interceptors, and the BMP that follow, that should reduce the amount that gets in the sewer, which should also greatly reduce the number of blockages. Then if there's a blockage, we go out, we have to clean it up, and then we charge the restaurant for that cleanup fee because it's extra. It shouldn't be in there, so we have to charge them to clean it up.
I'll expand off that as well. Thank you, Scott. Not only in the lines itself, but lateral lines, main lines, pump stations, all the way through the treatment process, all the way to the treatment plants, causes kind of havoc through our entire system. Once we get done with the call point modernization project, we'll be able to receive that grease, turn it into a renewable energy versus disposing of it in other ways at this point.
Any other questions from the committee?
Commissioner Johnson has his hand raised.
Commissioner Johnson, go right ahead.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you for this great presentation. And I'm glad that you are, at least getting us the information well ahead of schedule. So great job on that. The question that I have, this is kind of in particular to what Commissioner Ramirez asked when he, got the clarification that this would not affect our residents, but rather the businesses. Do you perceive that there might be some break-even point where the businesses complain about these types of fees? I mean, in light of the stormwater fee that will soon be coming upon everyone, but also, and more importantly, when you add this to the mix, do you think that brings us to a break-even point with regard to the businesses that are in Wyandotte County at large and their ability to pay?
Yeah, that's another great question. I appreciate it. So it actually reminded me of a point I wanted to make. Some of the brainstorming, which will come back in front of this group next year, is we are looking at options to where we will reward restaurants that take those extra steps. So Tiffany, you want to expand on that a little bit? Are you prepared to just touch on that topic?
Yes, so my name's Tiffany Butler. I'm the fog coordinator for the Water Pollution Control. And yes, we can offer incentives to those businesses that do struggle. And we can, if they turn in their paperwork and they seem to be doing well and doing everything that they're supposed to be doing, getting their interceptor cleaned out regularly, then we can definitely look at offering incentives.
Will the onus be on the businesses themselves, or will we in some manner send some communication to them that we offer this?
Oh, yes, there'll be communication to them that's offered.
Yeah, we'll do educational outreach, as well as Tiffany visits multiple of these businesses on site and actually walks them through the process and we'll go over. She's doing that today, but once it gets to this permit fee point, if we decide that a year from now, that's we'll cross that bridge when we get there, but she'll be able to educate them along the way when she's actually at their location.
And so I wanted to add that we are setting up an annual meeting. We're going to hold these annually, and we're going to offer for 2 days, like 6 different times that the restaurants can come in, and we just educate them about our requirements and best management practices.
Great. I think that's all we really can ask. So thank you so much.
Commissioner Davis, District 8. The only thing I would add to that, I'm sure you all have thought about this, but our community is very, very diverse. English may not be the first language spoken, particularly when we talk about our cuisines and the restaurant owners there. And so I think if we can make every effort to make those sessions language accessible, as well as whatever advertising or marketing on this, very, very important. Would hate for any group that English is not their first language to be at a disadvantage because this is such a new program. So if you have anything else to add to that, please do. But just wanted to make that point. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, I'm Tiffany Butler, fog coordinator at the UG. Yes, we do have a Spanish speaking employee that helps with translations, and I'm sure she would be available. And we also have a new guy on staff that speaks Hmong. And yeah, so he'll be able to help us too.
It's actually a great point, Commissioner. The truck that they showed there in the last slide there, one side of the truck today, that truck's out in our community every day, along with they made some placards, but on one side of the vehicle, it's in English. On the other side of the vehicle, it's like a big billboard. We put it in Spanish on the other side. So we're trying to get ahead of that curve, but we'll definitely expand that, take that back to the group and make sure we're accomplishing that.
Great. Clerk, did we receive any comments from the public, or is anyone online wishing to speak?
No comments were received and hands are raised.
Anyone here in the room for this item? I will entertain a motion.
Davis, second.
A motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Groneman. Kane. Davis.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks, team. That concludes our meeting this evening. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Groneman. Kane. Davis.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Groneman, as always. That concludes our Public Works and Safety Standing Committee meeting. We will move right along to our Administration and Human Services Standing Committee meeting, Before I call that meeting to order, I want to announce that some committee members, staff, and the public are attending remotely via Zoom as well as on site. All participants joining by phone should mute their phones when not speaking to avoid background noise. During the meeting, please make sure you announce yourself by name and title every time you speak so the public that is observing knows who is speaking. When speaking, be sure and speak directly into a microphone so all comments are heard and the record of the meeting is accurate. This is critical given the number of remote participants and is current guidance from the Kansas Attorney General. The public is allowed to participate by Zoom or submit comments by email prior to the meeting, and those comments will be included in the record of the meeting. The public may also indicate their intent to provide remote public comment by contacting the clerk's office by 5 p.m. the Thursday before the meeting. The public also will have opportunity to provide brief comments either by telephone or via Zoom from the fourth conference room of the municipal office building. I will now call the meeting of the Administration and Human Services Standing Committee to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Roll call, Kane. Johnson,
Here.
Ramirez.
Here.
Bynum, we have an absence memo. Davis.
Here.
Markley.
Here. There are no revisions to the agenda this evening. We have approval of minutes from the October 24th, 2022 meeting. I will now entertain a motion. I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Kane. Johnson,
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
The first item is approval to submit a 3-year grant to provide sexual risk avoidance and mental health curriculum at middle schools within the Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools. I'll recognize Lindsay Hensley, Community Health Education Program Supervisor, for opening remarks.
Hello, my name is Lindsay Hensley, and I'm the program supervisor for the Community Health Education Program, also known as CHEP, at the Health Department. Today, I'm just here to provide a short informational presentation regarding the CHEP team and the grant that we applied for through the Health and Human Services Family and Youth Services Bureau. The title of this project is called the WyCo Shift. So I just need approval for the grant as well. So next slide. Oh, do I have a thing? Thank you. All right, so for some background, the CHEP team was born out of the needs of COVID-19. Our purpose is to provide strategic health education and health promotion to the public with a focus on addressing social determinants of health to assist in the community recovery of COVID-19. So to accomplish this, we utilize community-based upstream approaches to educate a variety of audiences on specific health topics within Wyandotte County. We have 3 main focus program areas, which include COVID-19 disease vaccine recovery through addressing those social determinants of health, community outreach, and school-based health. The CHEP team works heavily within the CHIP priority areas to create health education for community members, and some of those health education topics are the COVID-19 vaccine or recovery, careers in public health. We've also worked with the CHIP team on tenants' rights and responsibilities toolkits, among other projects. We actually currently have over 25 health topics in our portfolio, and the list continues to grow as we identify gaps within the community. As mentioned, the CHEP team provides health education throughout the county through community outreach. For instance, you may have seen us at the Wyandotte County Fair, Bonner Springs Night Market, La Placita, Third Fridays Art Walk, among other places. We also table and provide education upon request at churches, schools, and neighborhood events, as well as workplaces throughout the county. One of our biggest impact spaces is within our school-based health arm, which is one of the reasons that I am here today. Currently, we provide health education at a variety of grade levels within all the public schools within Wyandotte County. One of our most longstanding school-based partnerships is with USD 500, where we are able to provide Love Notes, a healthy relationship and sexual health curriculum to all 9th graders through their PE course. The grant opportunity that we applied for will deepen this partnership as well as create other positive effects for all Wyandotte County school-based health opportunities. So to really get to the meat of this is the proposed project for the WyCo Shift grant is meant to address topics of teen pregnancy, STI rates, mental health, and additional health topics affecting youth. The Shift project proposes to expand the CHEP team's health curriculum implementation to middle school students in USD 500. This will be accomplished by implementing 2 new curriculums for students. The first one being Love Notes 4.0, which is sexual risk avoidance. It's evidence-based and will be the adaptation of the curriculum that we currently deliver to the 9th graders. This would be delivered to all 7th graders. Love Notes is intended to integrate healthy relationship skills with pregnancy prevention and workforce readiness while utilizing practical strategies for motivating change. The second curriculum is a mental health curriculum designed to help youth better regulate their emotions, increase hopefulness, and build resilience, and that will be implemented to all sixth graders. Providing both curriculums help to address STI rates and youth violence prevention, which are other initiatives the health department is very invested in. Both curriculums have been supported by USD 500 for our implementation. With this grant funding, USD 500 would then be connected to the health department from the 5th grade through the 9th grade. The CHEP team will be able to provide them with the 5th grade puberty talk, 6th grade mind matters, 7th grade middle school love notes, 8th grade sexual health and personal safety, and in 9th grade, the love notes high school version. This continued exposure can help to foster a trusting relationship with the health department for youth, as well as for us to become more recognizable within the community. One of my favorite things when going out to table is when students recognize me from when I came to their school. With this expansion, students' health literacy and access will improve from a young age and positive community impacts can take place. Here I have provided some details regarding this grant opportunity. It is administered through the Health and Human Services. It is approximately $400,000 per year for 3 years, beginning in October 2023, and there is a renewal application each year. Our CHEP team is also currently funded through ARPA. Through this funding, we would be able to sustain our program. With this funding, we'll be able to hire 2 additional health educators, expanding our team, which will also allow us more capacity to engage in additional health education work within the community and other school districts. There will be a sub-award for Tri-State Research Evaluation Services. They will help us, with the first progress report, as well as the renewal application, among other duties. There's no match funding requirement, there's no policy consideration, and there's no legal considerations. That is all I have. Do you guys have any questions?
Questions from the committee? Go ahead, Davis.
I don't have a question, but y'all are doing phenomenal work.
Thank you.
You all said $400,000 per year, no matching funds. I work in philanthropy. Anytime there's no matching funds, that's a big deal. So thank you all so much in educating our students, our youth with very, very important information. I would make a motion, but I'll wait until we have finished. Thank you, Chair.
Anything else from the committee? Clerk, did we receive any comments, or is there anyone online?
No comments received, no hands raised.
Anyone here in the room who wishes to address this item? I will entertain a motion.
Davis moves to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Kane. Johnson.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks so much. Our second item is approving adoption of ordinances and charter ordinances to allow for pilot relief for older adults and individuals with disabilities and allowing different percentages for residential and commercial rates. There's a request to fast track this item to the Thursday's full commission meeting. Jeff Conway is here to present. I was looking for him. There he is.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Jeff Conway, legal department. And on behalf of Commissioner Bynum, I thought I'd just present the draft as it stands, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. I do not have slide deck that can make this. Sorry.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
This is what Melissa and everyone's been working on for the past. Move for approval.
Second.
The motion is second. Is there an interest in hearing comments by Mr. Conway, or has everyone read the packet? And
I'm ready to move. This was actually my idea, but go ahead.
Mr. Conway, is there anything you felt that we should know that changed, anything that changed in the packet, or anything that's, particularly of note?
I don't want her to lose any votes if I keep talking, but I did want to point out that this is trying to dovetail with the rebate program that was already passed. And so one way to look at this is that rebate program is you become eligible and then you reach back and get a rebate for what you paid the previous year. This one would use the eligibility list that was developed from the rebate program. They just hand that over to BPU. BPU would use that list to work prospectively. It would be an exemption for your payment of the pilot from that day forward with annual reapplication. So sometimes, people are eligible and then sometimes they're not eligible for various reasons. So that's the idea. And then there was some talk of possible amendments. Let's see, I had a draft for that. To clarify. There was some talk because it didn't talk about a cap of any kind. So the county administrator had mentioned something about some extra language to clarify that it would be capped at $1 million per year. And that's from, I think the 250,000 was talked about. And then this piece was 750,000, and that added together would be the total of $1 million per year. I don't think we're ever going to get close to that, but that's the idea. And then, because of the problem of trying to go from the retroactive rebate and have it mesh with the prospective exemption, unfortunately, there's going to probably be a gap there. So by the time that they come in and prove up that they were eligible for last year around tax time of the following year, which, could be March, April, something like that. And then that eligibility is checked and then that's passed on to BPU. There may be a few months there that it takes time for BPU to get the system up and running and everybody included that would be exempt from paying the BPU pilot. So that first time around, there might be a gap, but then from there on, I tried to write it so it's seamless so that the cycle would be a yearly cycle, but basically go from June 1st to June 1st, as long as they were continuing to be eligible. And that's that. So I did have that prepared. So that'll be those two concepts. I could easily, it's in another draft. So you don't have that in front of you, but I can easily make those two changes. And that's all I wanted to say.
Those were
Any
notes.
Any questions?
Commissioner Davis.
Thank you, Chair. Question about the program, because I know all of this is we've kind of lumped it together, the senior sales tax rebate, utility, a tax rebate, and then now the BPU pilot relief. What is the scheduled timeline for when this program will roll out?
For this, the exemption, that would be basically set up for 2024.
Okay.
So we'd have to wait to see who would determine eligibility for tax time next year for 2023. And that would determine the rebate. And with that list, then we would move on to the exemption for 2024 and prospectively.
Gotcha. Chair, please, I think.
I wanted to say one thing too, and I know this is a little bit confusing, but the intent was to try to strip away some of the confusion, because I think some people came in and said, I qualified for the homestead exemption with the state, and then I came in here and I may or may not qualify here. So we're trying to get those to align a little bit better. I think we made some great strides in doing that. It's never going to be exactly meshing up, but at least that eliminates some of the confusion. We're referring back to the state program. And then also we're trying to make this so that it's seamless as well from a rebate over on the sales and utility side to the BPU pilot side. That's the intent. We're trying to eliminate confusion.
Madam Clerk, we have somebody online.
No, I was going to offer a comment in response to Commissioner Davis. We've already started working on communication for the new changes to the utility program. We're waiting, of course, for full approval on the BPU pilot. We will incorporate all that together. Our intent is to have communication out to the public beginning, we hope late October, realistically November, so the public is aware. Our season starts January 2. It runs through the middle of April, which is why then to get all the information gathered, verified, and to BPU, the BPU exemption would start June 1.
Perfect. Thank you. Anything else from the committee?
I'm sorry, I neglected to mention that there was another idea that was originally in there and that's been carried through. So it was the idea to allow BPU to have the option of creating a 2-tier of, so you'd have residential and other. Whether they do it or not, they may, but we create that option that they could.
Ramirez.
So with that, it's not a requirement.
Correct.
They have the option.
That's right.
All right. Clerk, do we receive any comments or is there anyone online wishing to comment?
No comments received, no hands raised.
Anyone here in the room with us who would like to comment on this item? We do have a motion and a second. I want to make sure that motion and second still stands and that it is based on what is in our packet without any of the potential pieces that Mr. Conway addressed.
Yes.
Okay, roll call on the motion.
Roll call. Kane.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. The next item is an ordinance and charter ordinance changes requiring in-district residency and background checks for members of UG boards. And Jeff is going to stay with us for this item.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, I'm sorry. This was at the request of the mayor. The basic idea is to impose some residency requirements for boards and commission members. In some places it does say that, other places it doesn't, other places it's implied. So I think that's what he's trying to do is have that imposed throughout all the boards and commissions. And then the other piece was to have a background check. It'd be a name-based background check be done basically on the same grounds as we do with UG employee applicants. So they come in and a background check is run routinely. The UG pays for that. And so this would be, we eat the cost for that. But the number of people on boards and commissions is far fewer than the UG employee applicants. So I'm not sure what the budget implication would be, but it'd be much less than for UG employees. So that was the idea. And then he had another idea. He wanted to go a little bit farther on for the boards where it would do a background check to see if there were violent offenders for everybody. But these 4 would be you check for violent offenders, sexual offenders, and drug offenders. And those 4 boards are the Corrections Advisory Board, the Law Enforcement Advisory Board, the Juvenile Corrections Advisory Board, and the Housing Authority. And then the way the ordinance is structured, it looks a little bit odd, but I just wanted to point out that the first section, amending section 2-381, that's the one that like 2 or 3 years ago, we decided to try to make the boards and commissions a little bit more uniform. We tried to pull them together and cluster them a little bit. And so that's in 2-381 is where that is. And so there's the more general references to the cluster. And those are the Commission on Human Relations and Disabilities, Alcohol and Drug Fund Advisory Committee, the Area-Wide Advisory Council on Aging, Golf Advisory Board, the Housing Authority was already addressed. Landmarks Commission, the Law Enforcement Advisory Board, Plan Commission and Zoning Appeals, and the Downtown SMID. So those kind of have their own section of ordinances that apply to them as a group. So that's taken care of in the first section. And then the rest of it, they're sprinkled throughout. And so I tried to go in and make them make that same language apply to them wherever they reside. And it's not exact. There's some that got left out, some that were interesting ones where it might be, say, all UG employees. Well, they already have background checks by virtue of the fact that they would be applicants. So why do it again? So that would be superfluous. There's a few others that, well, I did pick up the tree board because, you know, you can't forget the tree board. And there's a few others that were kind of in nooks and crannies. So by and large, those concepts are applied to the boards and commissions. I do want to say, though, that the residency requirement does apply to the cluster, the 9, but I didn't go in and drop that in because this draft was kind of evolving as it went along. I can easily do that if your wishes are to add the residency to all the rest of those that weren't picked up. I can easily do that, but that's where this draft stands. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks so much. I will just start out speaking for myself on this item. Many of our boards, well, first of all, as Mr. Conway addressed, a few years ago, we went through this whole process where we looked at all the boards and commissions we were appointing to. We identified those that were required by state statute. Those are the ones that are sprinkled throughout. The ones that are UG created, which are the ones that are all addressed under that single ordinance. Tried to figure out if we could combine any and if that would work within state statute, and just generally tried to clean things up, tried to align the rollover dates of the different committee members, all those sorts of things. So I might have actually chaired that committee. Maybe. I think I did. I was certainly on it. So we went through this whole process. We continue as a commission to have difficulty getting people to serve on these boards and committees, and many of them are not meeting quorum on a regular basis. Even our planning and zoning board has struggled to meet quorum on several occasions. And that's our most powerful entity aside from the full commission as a whole. But all of these smaller boards are struggling every single month to meet quorum. So I have a concern that if we are trying to make it even more difficult to get onto these boards when we can't get people to serve on these boards as it is today. Every month they're not meeting quorum. And I'll say, I think for the majority of the commission, I think I can say it's not for lack of trying. We're trying to find people to serve in these seats. They're not necessarily convenient for a lot of people, and it's just difficult. They're thankless jobs, right? To provide this service. So I'm concerned that we're putting more requirements on something where we already can't get people to serve in these capacities. So that's my concern. I will open it up to comments from the other commissioners. Commissioner Ramirez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's my concern as well, because I believe I currently still have a vacancy on the area agency on aging. I cannot find anybody. I've asked community members. I've put on my commission Facebook page that I had an opening. No one has said something or can come to me asking to apply. So I agree. I think it's creating more restriction for us, because, you know, when I did my appointments, I made sure I looked in district first. I looked, asked community members first, and if no one wanted it, then I went outside my district. But my district was always first. But I don't want my hands tied more than I feel like they already are, even without the residency requirement that we currently have. And are there any other municipalities within the region that require their appointees to be background checked?
I did not do that research. I wish I could give you an answer one way or the other. I do not know.
Okay. For me, I also see that as not a, I don't want to use my words be taken elsewhere. Not saying that it's not necessary, but have we had any complaints, anything of possible board members or commission members being offenders of any type?
I couldn't speak to that. I don't know if this issue was raised and presented to the mayor's office. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Okay. If you wouldn't mind, Commissioner Markley, or the mayor's chief of staff can come up and speak on this?
People next question.
Or no, just on the ordinance itself.
You don't have to, but if any, I see a couple of people from the mayor's office. If any of you worked with him on this and you have any comments, I think we would welcome some background on how this came to us.
Yeah, Lavert Murray, economic. I thought I had it on, I'm sorry. I have spoken with Jeff about some of the concerns that caused the mayor to seek these changes to the appointment procedures. And of course, yes, there have been some concerns coming in. And yes, there has been some questions about appointed members creating controversy through either arrest records or maybe DUIs and things like that. And so I think the mayor is wanting to make sure that if the public comes forward with a concern about about an appointment, that we've given it due diligence, have considered the quality of the applicants and so forth. But that's why the concerns came about.
Okay, and thank you. And have any of those respective commissioners been notified of these complaints? Or been given any notification that there are complaints or accusations against their appointee?
I'm trying to remember who the appointing commissioner was on this. I believe so. I don't know for certain, but I do believe so.
Okay. Again, in my opinion, if there are concerns and accusations being made against the commissioner's appointee, whoever's making that a complaint or hears it should go directly to the commissioner. I don't think we need to go and start changing code to get in compliance with it. It's just a communication to have with whoever that respective commissioner is who appointed that board member. That's my opinion. That's how I feel, because if I have an appointee who is quote unquote causing problems or who has a record that I was not aware of, I would want them to come to either someone who's making the accusation or staff to come to me so that I can have that discussion with my appointee. Because in the end of the day, we are the ones that are making these appointments to these boards, each and every one of us. And so,
If I could, Commissioner, I think that the mayor's recommended changes are designed to be proactive, even though there have been a few complaints that the concern was if in the future an appointment or an appointee either violates a law or something like that, that you've given due consideration before the fact. And so the UG should not be embarrassed by that action because you did all that you could do to vet that appointee.
and I agree with that, or I see where you're coming from, but we as commissioners and as the mayor we don't have to get background checked to be in these positions. And so people, our residents who were putting on these boards, as Commissioner Markley said, are thankless jobs. Why are we requiring them to be background checked when we can run for this position and have all the records we want? And so that's my thought. I see the disconnect of why we're requiring our appointees to make this hurdle when we don't have to as electeds. So that's why I see the proactive. I do see the intent, but I think we can come at it a different way. Come in at a different way without having to change code, yet maybe we change processes, procedures of how we acquire our appointees and do what we need. But I just think in the end of the day, I don't think we need ordinance changes for that. That's a conversation we can have amongst ourselves and say, how are we going to make this process or this procedure better? So that we can avoid those board members who may be, like as you said, quote unquote, causing issues or have had accusations against them based off a record that they may have. Which, like I said, I would like to know, if any of my appointees are those ones and who they are, so I can have that conversation with them. Because at the end of the day, that's the person I chose. And so that's a person representing me and my district on that board. I would like to know if they're causing problems or they're have a record or whatnot. Because it is a concern, but again, it goes back to, everybody's human, things happen, but I agree, if it's a severe crime, then that needs to be looked at. So those are all the comments I have for that.
I will share your concerns with the mayor, Commissioner. Although I was just sitting here thinking, well, maybe Commissioner Ramirez would prefer all of the commissioners go through background checks. No, I didn't say that. So.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. I appreciate you letting us put you on the spot there. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Initially, when I heard about this, I actually thought it was a good idea. I do share some of the challenges myself with some of my appointees in terms of not having a representative on a few of those boards. So I can see both sides of it. And I wanted to clarify that that was not for commissioners that were running, but rather for our appointees. The question then for me becomes, if in fact they don't clear the hurdle, then what? Are they told that they cannot serve on that committee or commission or whatever? What happens?
Jeff Conway, legal. I did write the language. It's pretty broad. I did write the language to talk about eligibility. So you wouldn't be eligible to serve if you have one of these offenses. So as a result, it should catch them on the front end. And let's say they get appointed and then they offend in some way, then that would mean that they would be ineligible to serve. So that's the idea. I don't know if this language gets it done, but it's both the front end and during the time that they're on the board and commission.
So it's on the front end. How long long would something like that typically take?
My understanding, we don't have anybody from the HR here, but I think it's pretty quick. Yeah, probably within a day or couple days that they run the names, and they should be able to get some results pretty quickly.
So are we going to run them every year, or are we just going to run them on the front end as they are coming onto a commission or to a board?
Well, I've framed it in terms of eligibility. So if I guess we could add some language that says that, their names are run every year, or whatever the frequency you'd like.
I think every year would be a little onerous myself. I can see the rationale for doing it on the front end. And I, at the same time, understand the challenges that we face overall. But you know, things are happening in our society right underneath our noses, and I think I still support it, the request. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Kane.
Madam Chair, I think each commissioner is responsible for the people he puts on their committee. One of my folks went rogue for a little while and was removed from the committee. And I've only removed one person in 18, 19 years. So I was blessed with having that particular person until they got a little sideways. And I accept having the background checked. I've passed 3 KBI background checks to sit on the Human Rights Commission. So anytime someone wants to check my record out, you can do it.
Commissioner Davis.
I'm kind of torn here on kind of like what the purpose of having a background check would be and how applicable it is, considering how common it is in our society to have folks in our family or folks that we know or friends that do have a record. This kind of reminds me of the current issue that we have, where if you are a felon, you cannot vote, right? The idea of kind of after somebody has done something, continuing to punish them and then saying that punishment is going to be, you cannot serve in civic society. I just morally speaking, struggle with that. We have a lot of organizations that do work with returning citizens. If they were to refer someone they thought was really, really good for a position, but we knew that they had a past record, and let's say that record has nothing to do with being on the Parks Board, right? Just because they had that record, we're now saying here's an additional burden, and all they're wanting to do is contribute to their community. I have an issue with that just morally and philosophically. I think if you do your due diligence and you made a mistake, we as the UG need to find ways to remove burdens, right? As opposed to placing more burdens on folks to have records. I love the fact that, for example, we have found some creative ways to not make those that have been found with marijuana to make it burdensome. We found other ways for accountability. I don't see boards and commissions, which are volunteer positions, as a vehicle by which we hold folks accountable. If anything, I think we should be talking about how we can expand access to these boards and commissions so more people can sign up. And so no commissioner is short of having folks ready, willing to contribute and meaningfully contribute at that. It's for that reason I'm not in favor of this as it is written right now. I would certainly entertain a grievance process by which that appointee could have that, it could be brought in and the appointer, right, that commissioner or the mayor or whoever can be a part of that. But I agree with my colleague. If I don't have to do it and I'm the one making the appointment, why would I put that burden on that person who wants to volunteer their service? And why would I want to spend taxpayer money, which we are already strapped for, on that particular service? It just doesn't, it's not making sense to me. Thank you, Chair.
Other comments from the committee? Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Chair. Again, I hear exactly what Commissioner Davis is saying. In fact, several years ago, I was part of the push to ban the box on our applications of persons that want to have a job and they may have some type of criminal history. So I do agree with that sentiment. Mr. Conway, how, in light of the ban the box initiative that we currently have, I think, how does this reconcile with a ban the box, which is for our employees or potential employees?
And just for my and the public's edification. So the ban the box would be, you eliminate the provision that says, does it go to convictions or arrests? I can't remember if, is it?
Looks like you got some help coming.
Yeah, I do.
It is a so the ban the box was that when you applied for a job as part of the application, you would have to disclose your prior crimes, and that was taken away so that applications were looked at without that knowledge ahead of time. And so I don't know that this really reconciled because one's an appointment and one's an employee. And this would be, if it were enacted, it would be before they were able to take the position. And I do need to clarify one thing that was said earlier and related. I should have the BPU pilot splitting out the two classes. The BPU does not set that. That would be for you to set. So just rewinding, sorry.
You should have jumped up and down back there.
I did.
Sorry.
Quietly. So did
Yeah.
I answer your question?
Okay, yeah, so they really don't, that doesn't really reconcile with that.
It really doesn't and doesn't have to. So
Yeah, I now Commissioner Davis, I'm torn too, so. Are we gonna vote on this tonight?
Oh, this is up for an action item. Are there additional comments, Commissioner Ramirez?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Davis did bring up a good idea that we don't have a grievance process. Commissioner Kane gave an example of a board member he took off. And yes, our appointees can come directly to the commissioner, but we have no formal process of, yes, we have a forfeiture. We have forfeiture rules within the code, but no grievance. If there's arguments between two board members or they're causing, one board member may be causing an issue, there's nothing set out that's saying these are the steps and procedures, mediation, what have you. I think that would be something we should look into. Because I didn't think of that until Commissioner Davis mentioned it.
in some ways that falls back to the elected officials to police because they are your appointments. And so then you're the ones to remove them since you appointed them.
Okay, and yeah, I get that. I figured that's what's happened, or that's what happens, but I think it should, I'm of the mind, I think it needs to be uniform amongst all commissioners. Because then I'm not saying to any of my colleagues that they're gonna have an appointee who's causing problems, but then that appointing commissioner could do nothing. He could do something and he or she could do something, he or she could not do something. So that's why I think it would be good if we can look at having a uniform grievance procedure process for commissioners. And I think that's a conversation we can all have amongst ourselves as commissioners and including the mayor. I think that would be a good thing to look at, just having uniformity with that. Because like I said, because there could be, I'm not saying any of my colleagues would do that, but it's a situation you have to think about. That a certain commissioner or certain elected has a board member has a severe record or has caused problems. They could sit on their hands and do nothing and the problems still continue. So I think it's just looking and trying to figure out the uniformity around that. Thank you.
I will say, just for me, I think it is the appointing commissioner's job to know the background of the person they're appointing. And I think it is the appointing commissioner's job to remove someone if they are a problem. Commissioner Johnson, did you put your hand up again?
This is my last time. I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Please forgive me. I don't know why. Usually I'm not as long-winded as I am today. Is there anyone from the mayor's staff that can speak to the question I'm getting ready to ask? And that question is the mayor or anyone on his staff aware of any problems with appointees as they stand right now. Because what I'm wondering is, are we creating a problem that doesn't need to be solved? I guess for lack of a better attempt.
Mr. Murray is approaching the podium.
Lavert Murray, Chief Economic Development Advisor in the Mayor's Office. As I said before, there have been some complaints coming into the Mayor's Office about a couple of appointees, one recently, very recently. But again, I think the mayor is trying to be proactive. For example, and I think one of you spoke of a park board appointee or appointment. Let's say if, and this is again hypothetical and it's designed to consider proactive actions, but let's say you've got a prospective park board member that is a child sex offender and you don't know that. And so you made the appointment, that person went on to the park board, that, you know, and the park board interacts with children. And later the press finds out, it could prove embarrassing, but again, that's just a hypothetical that I think the mayor's trying to guard against by being proactive.
Okay, thank you. I'm still caught in tension right now, but thank you for that answer, Mr. Murray. Thank you,
Right,
Madam
thank
Chair.
Madam.
Any comments received or anyone online to make comment? Trying to give you all some leeway to think this over while we make the rounds here.
No comments received, no hands raised.
All right, anyone here in the room with us who would like to make comment on this item? Welcome, JD.
J.D. Rios, Government Affairs and Policy Liaison for the mayor. And I just want to remind the commissioners of the law enforcement background of the mayor. So his law enforcement experience is what motivated his asking for this. Sometimes his law and military experience is misinterpreted, I would say. But that is his background for over 30 years. And so it guides him in how he is thinking. So prevention is stronger than reacting in his mind. And so I just wanted to kind of frame it for you. So you say, well, how did this come up? How, you know, and that's what led to this. So I just wanted that. So hopefully there's some understanding. I'm not necessarily agreement, but at least understanding. And that. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here in the room who would like to make comment?
But-
All right, team. I've heard Commissioner Johnson say he's kind of torn. Not hearing anyone coming out in favor of passing it, at least as is. Is there a motion to move this forward tonight?
I'm going to step forward and make a motion to move it forward.
Do I have a second? Commissioner Ramirez.
I'll second so that we can go to the full commission for discussion. But I would, maybe a request to the mayor's office, if we can, look at, as I mentioned, as, I know Commissioner Markley said, you know, it's on the appointing commissioner, but I think, again, going back to that uniformity, just to make sure no elected, it sits on their hands with an appointee who may be causing issues. And at that point, there's not much that can be done. And so I think if we can have that conversation and come up with a way, come up with a procedure or process that the mayor and commissioners can work together to come up with a grievance process of some type. That everyone follows the same rules, the same grievance process, I think would be a good idea to do. So, second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Roll call, Kane. Johnson,
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Davis,
No.
Markley,
No.
motion fails.
Commissioner
Sure.
Markley, I apologize. Before we move on to the next item, I was hoping we could circle back to item number 2 just very briefly. The language of the motion was a little unclear, and I wanted to make sure that the intention of Commissioner Kane's motion and of the second was in fact to fast track that item as was requested.
That was the BPU item. Commissioner Kane, I believe you were the motion. Do you want us to just say it and revote? Would that make it clearest? Can we get a new motion on the BPU pilot relief with the fast track? And I don't remember who the second was.
Johnson.
I can't hear him.
Commissioner Johnson, we needed to re-vote on the BPU pilot relief with the fast track included, and Commissioner Kane has made the motion to that effect. You were the second. Are you willing to give your second to the fast tracking?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second to vote on the BPU pilot relief, this time with the fast track. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Kane. Johnson.
Aye.
Ramirez,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Markley,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you very much for catching that. We'll clean it up nicely. All right, unless there is another motion coming forward on the boards and commissions item, I am going to move along to the next item. Going once, going twice. All right. No action taken on that item. Well, there was action, but it didn't pass, so we're moving along. Item number 4, the last item is a presentation regarding HUD no lead grants received by, am I saying this right? I don't know if I said that right. Did I say it right? It's an acronym, I think. So grants received by the Wyandotte County Public Health Department, and Jennifer Stewart is with us to present. And for those who are watching, it is no as in KNOW, which is why I was like, am I doing it? Am I doing it?
All right, good evening. It is no lead, but the NO in it, so it has a double meaning. No lead and no lead. So that's the program name we're going with. So I'm Dr. Stewart. I am the environmental health manager. This is Anthony Lee. He is our lead hazard control program supervisor. And he's just going to give you a quick presentation on our grant that we just recently received and what we're going to do with that money that we got. So.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Anthony Lee Jr. I'm the Lead Hazard Control Program Supervisor for our HUD grant. And here I'm just going to give you guys a quick overview on lead, some data on Wyandotte County, and last but not least, information on our lead poisoning program that we have funded by HUD. So what is lead? Lead is a heavy metal that has been used for thousands of years to make many products and is a part of our world today. Being exposed to too much lead can lead to serious health problems. Young children and developing fetus are most at risk. We also do surveillance through KDHE for lead poisoning. And so we see a lot of children come through our system who have lead poisoning. As you may know, you would think lead shouldn't exist anymore, but it is very prevalent, especially in our community. Lead has been used in numerous products, including paint, ceramics, pipes, plumbing, solders, gasoline, batteries, ammunition, and cosmetics. As you all probably know, we still have battery plants here in Wyandotte County. So adults are being exposed daily in these working environments. And so we want to make sure that they are safe and that they're not bringing that home to their children. Most lead can come from homes that were built before 1978 because of the use of lead-based paint in those homes. Lead-based paint lasted a really long time, but now we're seeing the effects that it is coming off on the interior and exterior of homes. So we want to make sure we fix that issue. Why are children most at risk? Children 6 years old and under have nervous systems that are still developing. So when we get lead poisoning in children, it can cause behavioral issues, learning disabilities. It can lower their IQ. So it is so important that we reach all of these children. Lead can be absorbed more easily in a child, and their body is growing so quickly it can be harmed with even the smallest amount of lead. If there is lead where your child lives or plays, it can get onto their hands and toys very easily. So when that happens, children can swallow tiny bits of lead from their toys and hands, which exposes them to this toxic substance. How are children exposed to lead? Children are exposed to lead by ingesting it. They go back to these spots because lead tastes sweet to a child. So they will continue to go there, eat those paint chips, put those toys in their mouth, put their hands in their mouth, and continue to expose themselves till the level gets high enough where we are truly concerned. We always say there is no safe level of lead. And when a child has a lead level of 3.5 and above, that's when we are called into action. Opening and closing windows and doors can cause paint to crumble into dust because it's a friction surface. So a lot of families are opening and closing their windows during the summer. It's hot. They want to let some airflow, but little do they know they're exposing their children and their families to lead. And lead can also be on the soil on the outside of their home. When those exterior paint chips fall into your soil, let's say, for example, you have a garden and that when it rains, that can flow right into your garden. So now you're contaminating your food. So we want to make sure that people are aware of these issues and make sure that they're able to address them. Here I have a little graph here. You can see where Wyandotte County is at. So between 1950 and 1978, these are the years homes were built in Wyandotte County. You see we have one of the highest among the metro area, only falling to Jackson County. And before 1950, we have the highest. So you see we have a lot of old houses here. And then houses with peeling paint on the interior and exterior. You can see Wyandotte County has the highest. This is why this grant and this opportunity that we have is so important for us to capture all of these families. So here I just put some examples of lead-based paint. So we call the first picture alligatoring. You can see it looks like alligator's back. You notice these things in your communities, please reach out to us to see if families will qualify for this program because it is important. We want to reach as many families as possible. I mean, you can just see the flaking and chipping paint on the other two photos. These are a couple of the houses that we've went to before, and we wanted to make sure we captured this to be able to show people know what they're looking for. So in December of 2022, the Unified Government, the Wyandotte County Public Health Department received $3.9 million from the Office of Lead Hazard Control and Healthy Homes. Our goal for this grant is to remediate 85 homes built before 1978 in 4 years, with prioritization going to families with children under the age of 6 years old and pregnant women. Grandparents can also apply for this grant if their child is under the age of 6 in the home and visits the home 6 hours or more per week. I know we've had this grant before through community development, and we targeted only homeowners, but we wanted to make sure we opened this up. We didn't want to miss any families who are renters. And when I was in my previous position, we saw a lot of renters, and there was nothing we could do for them. So we want to make sure we target and reach everyone, and don't limit ourselves. And I think that is it. We are targeting homes east of 635. So we're excluding Bonner Springs and Edwardsville, unfortunately. Hopefully when we get this grant again, we will hopefully maybe expand out to those areas as well, because there are obviously older homes out there as well. So that is it for my presentation. Why we're not reaching out to Edwardsville and Bonner. So they're their own separate entities. So they would have to do their own environmental tier 1 for them to be a part of this grant. And so they weren't brought into the conversation. So maybe we can reach out to them next time and see if this is something that they want to be a part of. So that is it. Any questions?
Briefly to what remediation entails, just to
Yeah.
give people an idea. We say remediation, and I know that everybody knows what that means.
Of course. So we can do interim controls. So that's kind of mostly like painting. If they're chipping, peeling paint, we can use encapsulation paint to help with that. And then we want to do abatement. I want to do abatement. I don't want to have to go into a home 10 years later and have to do the same thing over again. So I want to make sure we take care of the issue. That way our families don't have to worry about it anymore at all.
And I live in one of those older houses. So I say that because I think some people think if the paint has been painted over that makes it all okay, and that's not necessarily not necessarily the case. So be aware, if your house is old like mine, just because the walls have been painted since 1978 does not mean that it's taking care of the lead problem. So Commissioner Kane.
Madam Chair, is this the first time that we've ever included rental properties?
From my knowledge, yes.
As long as I've been here, we never included.
Yeah.
And the reason I ask that is I think that needs to go out on our website. That somebody, if they feel like they're in a house that they're renting and that there's lead exposure and there's a kid 6 years and younger, I think that's fantastic. And I think that's what this is for. Is to take care of as many people that are exposed to lead as possible, whether they own the house or not.
Any other comments from the committee? Go ahead.
I do have a comment. I just want to clarify. So homeowners, they do have to have a child in the home that's 6 years old and younger, but for renters, they do not have a child in the home. So yeah, that's even better. So we want to make sure we reach everyone. So, and also landlords don't have to provide any match. So we want to make sure our landlords apply for this. It's free. Our residents apply for it. It's free. Please apply for this program.
Great notes, Commissioner Davis.
Thank you. I may have missed this in the presentation, so forgive me. But just as a reminder, what's the timeline for this program? And then if folks are watching this, or they hear about it, what are the steps for them to start engaging?
So this is a 4-year grant from HUD. And if you are interested in our program, please call us at the health department at our main line and be asked to transfer to the lead poisoning department, and they will transfer you there. And our application intake specialist will get them squared away with all the information that they need.
Commissioner Kane.
This needs to go out in the next citizen that we put out. You know, and because everybody gets that. And then they can read it and have, you know, you don't have to be the owner of the property, but here's the requirements to do this. And put the name and the contact number and who's in charge, and let's roll.
It looks like Miss Ashley Hand online may have commentary on the marketing aspects.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Commissioner. And I appreciate the opportunity. My name is Ashley Hand, Director of Strategic Communications. As you've seen with our program lead, we have a very capable speaker. We are working on a video, and we also have the UG Spotlight, which is going out to all of Wyandotte County, 66,000 plus households in the next week and a half with information about this program. So we're very excited and really appreciate the great work of the health department.
We really appreciate getting a glimpse of Miss Hand's children, who are adorable. All right.
apologies.
No, we love it. It's perfect. Anyone else have comments? Clerk, is there anyone else online or anything received?
No hands are raised, no one online.
Anyone else here in the room? I will entertain a motion. Oh, wait, do I need a motion?
No.
This was just for information. We're good to go, team. Even better. Thank you guys very much. Appreciated. All right. What I do need is a motion to adjourn, because that is it.
So move.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Kane. Johnson.
Aye.
Ramirez.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Markley.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.